Part 3, my final words. I forgot to mention the function of the nettle seed. The nettle seed, or actually I did mention it, I think. It was renal protective, possibly. If you blend it with nettle leaf, it's good for allergies and as a mineral-sparing diuretic to keep excess fluid off you, which is an effect in blood pressure lowering by itself. But anyway, one of the functions. I'm going to tell you something else about the alkalinity, acidity, dietary stuff. I hate to tell you this, to those who follow it, even though if you believe it or don't, I'm going to tell you something. That's nonsense. Your intestines have an acidity level for a reason. The probiotics are propionic acid making or lactic acid making bacteria for a reason. Your gut's got acidity and enzyme activity all through it. And the yeast as well contribute to this. The probiotic yeasts and molds that are in your bacteria, your gut biome, and probably do this too. So you need to consider that for a reason. Number 2, your body balances its own pH quite well. I'm not being an advocate of this. I mean, I think, it's another brother of mine walked in. I think you need to consider, if you're going to do an all meat, dairy and egg, low carb, dairy and egg type of diet and seafood type of diet, I think you're better off cloning your red meat from the red meat animals of those who are grass-fed or past, certain ways of being fed, and clone that. That's all I would say. That way you actually minimize the actual amount of suffering, animal suffering, if you're against that. It reduces it, and you still get the benefits. I hate to say it, but I don't think it's the meat that's the problem. A lot of people confirm this. But I'm not against veganism. I'm not against veganism. I just hate the militant old crazies. But I'm not anti-vegan. I just gave you a flexitarian approach through, bivalves. It's it's the closest thing to dogma or suffering ethics. It's possible. And I'll tell you, folks, you see I try to give a vegan alternative to like the omega-3s for krill or extra cod liver oil and all that. And as long as it actually gets, because there's astaxanthin and stuff like that involved to actually preserve the fatty acids, that's even better. Simply because they stop oxidation from happening early on and easily preserve it for a long period of time. So yeah, it's just beautiful. And yeah, it's great. Anyways, yeah, so it's crazy, but it's retarded amount of the benefits you can get from just a few changes in your diet. Like, okay, you can see I'm not you see my arms are kind of not muscular, but they're not fatty. They're moderate, but I mean, and then I got a little bit of gut, but it's not nearly like it used to be, because of, I used to be a fat fucking cow. I was huge. But I all I did was go more plant-based, eat more omega-3s, from seafood and plants, both, and egg, I try to, and eat a few eggs on occasion, but stuff like that, and change my dairy up and not eat it much at all. Like, I got a few times I do it, but not often, right? I took probiotics, I got more fiber, things like that. I did a lot of changes to my diet, but gradually over time, and worked worked at angles, not a straight line goal, but I did little mini goals on the side on my way to that point, and from being well over 280, almost entering the 290s in pounds, in a territory, the 290 pound territory, almost entering that 2011 to now, I'm in my 190s. That's almost 100 pounds difference. And I feel better. Only problem is I got a bad ankle because I had a fucked up accident and nearly ripped my foot off in 06. So yeah, And it gives me trouble a lot, but I take natural anti-inflammatories on occasion and stuff like that. And I try to avoid the anti-inflammatory drugs to keep myself, on the safer side. So I don't have to keep doing shit to protect my liver all the time. So it can do it by itself, keep a burden off it. Hey, hit me up when you feel like, Brett. My phone's working. I love you too, brother. Tell Uncle Rob I said, hey, got something for him to try. I don't care. Those two are biologically my cousins, but they're more within less than 2 years of my life. They've been more brotherly to me than within a year. It's a time of my lifespan than all the combined amount of time of my 3 biological siblings. Those two are the brothers. Those two are my brothers. They'll never change. That's a fact. I'll never take that from them. Never. And we got our disagreements. Believe me, we fucking got them. But something I ain't gonna. I'm an ass wipe, but I'm an honest ass wipe. That right there, I'll never take that from those two. If I get misty-eyed, it's because of some other shit that popped up in my head that I'd rather not talk about. But yeah. Moving on. So you see, I'm trying to do that. I try to promote this stuff and try to do like vegan leaning and like vegetarian leaning and stuff like that for everybody. Just so I could try to make something for everybody to give it a shot. Everybody gets a chance at it. Try to be diverse with it. Okay, the curing of meats. I get, but the problem, a lot of that is, the curing of the meats is a big problem. They don't cure them like the old ways. They don't modernize the ancient forms of curing. They just, and that's it. They tried to, chemistry-wise, we need to develop a way of reducing carcinogen with antioxidant, doping, and a curing agent, and then make it to where we can breed probiotic bacteria like Leuconostoc strains and others, and then breed nitrobacteria and nitrosalmonas to allow the nitrates and shit to be fermented out. It releases very trace amounts of nitrogen oxide and nitric oxide or whatever into the air. It's very little because you don't use very little of those nitrates and nitrites curing. You got to give them a chance to ferment out into, so it'll be a little extra. It'll be a small amount of potassium on the side if you do potassium, which is what I would do. Excuse me. Or magnesium. Find it. As a counterbalance, so it won't be straight up sodium salts. But yeah, the bacon would have to be. I'd prefer it to be cloned, but when they do start cloning it, I want it to be cloned from pigs that were pasture raised and then finished on fully fermented grasses like wheatgrass, polygrass, ryegrass, fermented down, they fuck down. And a tiny bit of red alfalfa it's fermented the fuck out of. Red clover and alfalfa. And, and then the bulk of that would be chia seeds, fucking olive pulp, and then acorns off the ground just to improve the flavor of the meat. And don't cut them open while they're squealing. That's fucked up. That's fucking grody, bruh. No. But I'd rather it be cloned from that in that criteria of pasture raised and fit that type of finishing, and cloned to be able to copycat that nutrient ratio and structure, in test tube growing or whatever, and that exact to copycat that to make my bacon. And shit like that. And cure it and find better ways to curing so all the nitrates and nitrites will be fermented out. And, stuff like that. So that'll be completely it. it'll eliminate suffering. We get our bacon, and and we promote more economically and ecologically efficient ways of making the that nori or seaweed based bacon tastes like the real thing. Get that out there too. I mean, get all these reduce suffering as much as we can. Yada yada yada. Improve technology enough. Just do these things and make everybody happy and everybody way more sustainable. That's the kind of shit I want to talk about real quick. I mean, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff. And I guess you'd call me, idealistically, I'm aiming towards being a flexitarian. I don't eat meat much. I wouldn't eat meat much very often. When I do, I don't eat that much of it when I do, and most try to be plant-based, or plant and seafood, and occasional egg and dairy-based. But yeah, I got references to some of my criticisms too. Well, not ethics criticisms, but the technical, dietary, science, technical. I try to get as variety of sources as I can, but I'm not one of those vegan debunkers that'll ignore their ethics argument. They say, because what that's supposed to do is because the ethics argument they're talking about in the what was it called? Social contract arguments. If you're going to appeal to a social contract, then you can go as far to an extreme and be able to say, there's going to be a social contract saying, hey, it's okay to rape a daughter. The reason they do that is they're trying to tell you social contracts are not the best argument. Vegans are excellent with that, and striking the shit out of you. It was like, whoa, what the fuck? And then to the point you don't want to try to comprehend what was said. But what they're doing is they're telling you, hey, this is a social contract argument you're appealing to. Not a stop, because look how far I can go with it, or whatever. And we're not comparing that to meat. We're saying social contract arguments are weak. That's what they're doing. By we, I was pretending to be one of them saying that. That's the argument. But yeah. Look how many capsules that shit made. That's part 3. Oopsie. Hope you enjoyed it. Write the regimens down in the description below. Again, all 3 videos. I'll put the references down, and I'll tell you about and I'll link you about the David McKenna stuff. I'll also link you some other research as well. And I'll link you about the products I was talking about as well. I will link you to them. The website links to them and whatnot. Also link you to this right here. I'll link you to this on eBay. And I'll link you, and then all you gotta do is go find you some either gelatin or vegan capsules. I just used gelatin because it was whatever. The first result I came up upon. And gelatin's an alright protein. It's one of the anti-inflammatory protein compounds from animal food. Not justifying like that, but it is. It actually is. People take collagen based and gelatin based powders, and they start feeling better pretty soon. Got testimonials for that. Pretty good. Anyway, let me wash this shit off my hands. But yeah, I'm gonna tell you that herbal infused coffee regimen. 2 of these capsules. Spray that shit on your scalp, on your short hair when it's cut short at night, and take the colloidal minerals, and it'll make a 3-source in these patches, or UVB ray tube hitting your skin paired with vitamin K2. UVB rays from a light fluorescent tube hitting your skin, as long as it's within the frequency ranges of the sun. As long as you follow these this will be the protocol to downregulate DHT. Boost testosterone, keep you from getting impotence, and hopefully, in the long run, permanently downregulate your prostaglandin D2 in your scalp as well. And I just gave you an approach, like if you're a teenager or starts losing patches of hair early, you just spray this on your head and wait for the internal dose of these capsules. Stick with Quercetin, and then avoid this herbal infused coffee and the capsules until you hit 18. That's only if a healthcare professional is okay with it, and you allergy test on everything, and they keep check on you when you feel like you need to you be called in, tested. You see what I mean? One of the easiest supplements to do to regulate thyroid function are sea vegetables, or African diverse sea vegetables, or from certain algae, or phytoplankton, or eat bivalves and other stuff. They'd have filter feed, farmed. And yes, these tricks I present about adding the quercetin, the lecithin, and the piperine to all these formulas boost assimilating your gut's ability to absorb these, put them in the blood without transforming them too much, to the point that, so that your body actually gets more use of them. They stay in your blood longer for the increased effect. So, and then when you pair it with the reducing dietary lectins with a few easy tricks I can teach you, very easy tricks, including modifying how you soak beans and cook them, boil them on high for the first 25-30 minutes before turning them off and turn back on again. Pre-soaking potatoes. You need either filtered water with probiotics, with probiotic culture source, or for a good 8 hours before you cook them, or baking soda, a little baking soda, and the same method for grains to reduce lectins in grains, so you can eat them more safely, increase your polyphenol intake. That paired with this regimen, with the omega-3s and everything else about it, might happen faster because, better circulation, better endothelial artery function. In theory, based on the Gundry study. But you ain't got to go crazy with it like he first came out with. There's all kinds of tricks to reduce dietary lectins without fucking removing what you love in your life. And still follow your diets for the most part. There's a lot of easy tricks, so not that hard. But yeah, that might quicken this, get everything you need, and stop hair loss completely. Maybe even reverse it in theory, based on what we found. Or theoretically, not yet, but in hypotheses and in theories, could do this. Hope you enjoy. Hope I didn't yammer too long or whatever. Hope I got everything across to you. And yeah, by the way, another little review. On its own, it's a 10 out of 10, but paired with this system here that I'm telling you, it's 3 times, it's way more effective, because you get my point. It's all effective, it's all together. This is 10 out of 10 for me, I would say. These are fucking 10 out of 10. Yes. See you later. Take care. Remember what I said about going to a doctor and then getting allergy tested? If they say, go ahead, and you need me to, I'll monitor you. If you get that okay, and then get allergy tested and you're all clear allergy-wise, then you try this. But you've got to remember those 2 things, or I'm not responsible for your fuck-ups. See you around.